Hi guys. So I actually don't know how this is going to come out, but I'm going to try it. Okay. So I wanted to talk about manifesting the actual outcome that you want to manifest, or the law of attraction, if you will. I don't know if you guys have read the book The Secret, but I would recommend that you take a look at it. It is really good. It's around here somewhere. That's all I can say about that right now at the moment. Anyway, the point of the book and of the law of attraction and of anything that you're doing really is that the energy that you put into something is the energy that you get back out. So it's a inverse relationship. It's a giving and a taking. And so when you're experiencing a blockage in one area of your life, typically you need to add more affection. And that's usually the hardest thing to do in those situations. So I'll give you an example. When you're in traffic, okay, and the traffic is not moving, you have somewhere to be, you're late, and you're like, oh my God, I am going to make the worst impression. You're panicked. So the person in front of you is texting while they're driving. And that's fine, theoretically, because you wouldn't know that, except for the fact that they're driving like 5 miles under the speed limit because they're more paying attention to their phone. In any case, I think that frustration that you feel towards the driver, like, oh, just move. It's kind of like realizing that if you just give them a little love, like, hey, dude, you think we could go a little faster? Like little nudge, little elbow action there, like you know when your kids are bad and you just like stop it in the middle of the store, and it's kind of like you're like I don't want to deal with this right now. Same thing with the traffic. Maybe instead of getting like irate, because I have done it and you've done it probably. Most people who have been in any big city that has serious traffic has gone through that moment where they're just like, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Somebody is going to lose it today, and it's going to be me. And so, long story short, this inverse relationship, this law of attraction, when you're thinking negative thoughts, the negativity actually is drawn towards you. So there's actually statistics that show if you own a gun, then you're more likely to have to use it. It's just the way it is. It's not don't shoot the messenger, literally, but not bunch. Okay, but I think when you're thinking about out of the box ways to manifest instantly. I'm sorry, my little sparkles tend to they migrate. Anyway, Uncommon Goods came out. This is the Four of Wands, so this is home again, jiggity jig on the back. And I think when you're trying to figure out the secret of the universe, or the secret of yourself, or how to manifest instantly, or even just make a solid path for yourself moving forward towards any goal that you might have. I think that this is the first step, is mapping out where you'd like to be. What kind of uncommon goods do you have to offer? What is it about yourself that you love the most? What's your favorite? Like, if you were Mary Poppins and you pulled yourself out of the purse, why would you have been put into it? What is it about yourself that you just absolutely love? Once you figure that part out, I think the rest of it is mostly self-explanatory. And although I'm not opposed to a certain level of ambiguity when it comes to this, because I think everybody loves something and in different ways. I think that there is also a commonality, a common denominator between the two that creates a balance. And that's that inverse kind of relationship. So if we're looking at this as half the picture, it's either going up or down. This is like this is going across the equator of Africa, right across Kenya, straight across. DRC, everyone, like this is the equator, right? Maybe this is the uncommon good. This is the equator line. That my little sparkles. And after realizing or having recentered, I mean, you could look at love as being upside down at this point, or you could be seeing it as a part of a whole. So this is, when you look at this as a Wheel of Fortune, you can see why there is this innate kind of inverse nature to the universe. So when you feel like you're in love, when you don't feel like you're in love, you may actually be in love. When you feel like you're in love, you may not be in love. You might need to reach a little higher. And as soon as you do those balancing acts that are required by the quadrants of the world, then you've actually chosen to, like, you know, if you were to turn it this way or turn it that way, you'd be like, oh, well, here, I think that this X right here is my spot. All of that goodness. Okay, so I'm just trying to more or less show you an example, but I mean, even within your own environment, I think there's always going to be another. What kind of flower do you have to offer? Is that the new bag for you? Is that, I just got some new incense. That's my new bag. It was $2 from the place around the corner, and it brings so much peace to my life that it's worth having on deck. Doesn't matter what scent. It's just the point of incense being released into we're in this atmosphere together, whether we want to be or not. So, you know, might as well make it smell pretty. The best of both, in with the new. I really like this. It's that new chi aura kind of vibe, frequency, level, tier, as in TIEF, echelon. It's a thing. It's an actual movement that you can have for yourself from one to another without that friction of figuring out that middle ground for yourself. I've known for a long time that I had some type of a mediumship about me, but you know, when you say psychic, it can kind of sound like you need like a psych doctor or something. Or maybe you've just cut through the middle of the equator in a different slice than they were aware of. Who knows? You need to stay open-minded about it. You need to be positive about it. You need to reach up and grab those things, people, places, all of that make you extraordinarily happy. Remember them, and then remember why you loved them to begin with, so that you no longer need them in your life. You just want them there, and you get to enjoy their presence. If that's not something that's going to happen, then you get to enjoy them from a distance. That's the way this goes, I think. So this is Major Arcana, the Chariot. Yep. These are my personal cards. Please don't copy them. If you do, you suck. And the Magician came out next. So this is, Magician is oftentimes an earth sign. If you're Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. Then obviously it says stereotypes are funny for a reason. And it's because they come in all shapes and sizes. So that's kind of what I was saying, was that although you might be apprehensive about something, rather than resisting it, just accept it and then laugh about it. Because in the long run, the only person that you can control is yourself. So therefore, if you can focus your energy on things that make you happy and things that make you feel like an entire spiritual, connected, whole human being that is able to consciously channel your intentions, then it just happens kind of instantaneously, and it's a great way to start the day. So you guys have a good new day tomorrow. You probably won't be seeing this until tomorrow anyway. Sorry for the lighting. I did switch positions for just this video right here. I don't know, I just felt a strong calling to do this. So I wanted to just share with you that, when you're making changes, sometimes there's a whole lot of silver linings that are not easy to necessarily navigate. And I think being able to navigate them in your own way makes them a productive part of who you are. And when you can do it in a way that makes you happy, then you are absolutely touched by God. It, him, her, self. Whatever, you guys know how I do this. Multi-uni billion verses that there probably are. So, Bubbles, super happy. I don't think that necessarily all energies are kind or good, for that matter. Some of them are really uncomfortable. Some of life is not at all fun to withstand. However, when you can realize that that is part of the inverse nature, perhaps you were too callous before. And that's when God came along and was like, oh, okay. And then stripped of you your ability to maintain your callous nature in some way. That's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to some of y'all. When the universe asks you, do you like this situation at hand? Just, do you like this wallpaper? Do you like it? And you're like, meh. So you give the wallpaper up, and then the wallpaper comes back and is like, excuse me, because this wallpaper was like the one wallpaper that matched the duvet and the chase lounge that you wanted for your bedroom. That's why. So it ends up being buyer's remorse. It makes you pay attention to the small details of situations a lot sooner. You learn how to differentiate quickly the little tiny things that other people did not necessarily notice initially. You know, it's one of those situations where you're just climbing about, flailing like the rest of us. And it doesn't mean you flail any less. It just means you stop being scared of the fall and you stop flailing and just let yourself tumble, I guess. Or you could jump, and that way is a lot less scary because you can see where you're going instead of tumbling. Sometimes it's safer. Who knows? Technique. It matters. And on top of that, I was just reading this label. I like to see where things come from, like consumer products, It's kind of a weird thing. But once you start paying attention to it, it does make a difference. It's like the smallest little minute details begin to add up once you're able to align yourself with the secret. And the secret is really not a secret. It's in a book that was already written. And if you don't believe that one, you should just go find a scientific one or a religious one, not in that order particularly, or just stick with the what makes you happy. That's what I would do. So, long story short, that's all I wanted to express. But making vision boards, having long debates and conversations with people about whatever it is that you're considering, thinking about, wanting to attract into your life, or those things that you want to send out of your life. I just got the Death card, so it's Scorpio card. Could be dealing with Scorpio. The Wicked. Like I just said, those things that you want to send out of your life. Not literally the Wicked, but have you guys seen the Broadway show? It's a Broadway play, Wicked. It's actually really good. And then there's the Ugly Stepsister too. So you guys should go look at that. It's like about, well, just go watch it. Go read the books. Or get your ticket. But anyway, basically, it's a two-way street. So the things that are wicked in life actually are the most provocative. We like to eat candy instead of vegetables because vegetables don't taste as good as candy, right? So it's technically a wicked thing, wicked child and trick or treat, right? But that being the case, if you don't end that cycle, all of your beautiful teeth just fall out, right? Kinda, sometimes. To be quite honest with you, that's actually not true. Genetically speaking, it is your teeth are genetic, mostly. And I'm not trying to say don't brush your teeth. I'm just trying to say that a lot of this has a lot to do with genetics. All of your whole makeup does, but a lot of it can be fashioned by your goals in life. So obviously, whatever goal it is, if it's to, do that there instead of this here, that's the inverse energy. It's like I just got those little impish smiles where people are like, I just got the candy. Like, that's kind of the energy I'm getting off of this card right now. Anyway, last piece of advice moving forward regarding the secret and how to transfer that. Yep. This is the Ten of Swords that just came out. So, opposed to what you might believe, or I guess what the only input that I personally would add is that opposed to people being positive. Positivity is great and it feels really good, but it's also not something that you can maintain permanently. You can't just be on a high note all the time. Even when you're talking, there's inflection in your voice. So keep it light. Keep it, be willing to burn those things that don't work for you. And then be willing to also use that same fire as this warmth for yourself to recreate and cook something on top of this bonfire that has been created by your remastering yourself. It's remarkable, honestly, to have this moment. It's like that moment when you, if you have graduated, or if you have given birth, gotten married, had a really great surprise birthday party, if you have aced a test at school, if you have gotten a brand new pair of shoes, or a brand new pair of really comfortable sweaters, or really durable hoodies that are really snuggly and warm. That very satisfied feeling. This is warm laundry that you then put onto your body immediately on a really cold night. That's what this is. Warm laundry. Not hot fire. This is hot cocoa. A mug of something warm to hold on to after you just shoveled the walk. Okay? That's what this is. This is that warm mug. It's warm in there. You see that? And we're just going to hold on to it. Right. So it's light as air, as in, flammable. But also liquid. You can see the reflection in the water. There's just one branch hanging out over, and you can kind of see it reflecting. It's like a thing. But your burdens will teach you almost as much, if not more, than the things that you are positively always trying to if you're willing to just say, yep, that did not feel good, or I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to really work on this, and I'm going to try to do better next time. I'm going to upgrade this portion of myself in the future. I'm going to get the upgraded app or whatever. I'm just going to step up my game. Guts to do more better is what I'm hearing. Okay. It's kind of the same thing. You got to be willing to blow up all of those things I just said. You don't have to do any better than you're already doing. You're doing fine. Accepting that first is maybe the hardest part about the secret, because if you don't accept yourself, then you really can't accept anything, anybody around you as autonomous. You're always linked in here and there and there, and then you're hooked. Then you're burning your finger every single time you touch it. And it's not the stovetop, and you're not a child, but it is it's like it's almost like there's like almost like a magnet to your, like, I mean, literally, that's what it is. You want that fire in your fingertips, but not on your fingertips. You want it in your fingertips. That's the difference. So, not to cause burden on anyone else, but I'm not saying that. Don't take 10 of Wands the wrong way. Just take it as a transmutation of energy from a village fire to a bonfire. A village bonfire. This is judgment. So you have to learn by living through something really, really painful sometimes. Through the fire or by the fire. How did God bless you? That's that yin and yang energy coming together. It's nature and nurture. It's the black and the white, the up and the down, the male, the female. I, being a woman, would be the, definitely agree that in my case it's the rose, but I might be partial because I made these cards. So, as I was saying before, the vision board thing, I really like it. So, make creative ways to make the vision board accessible to yourself, and maybe on a daily basis, and maybe in a way that is not non-conventional. So these are not hanging on my wall. These are in a box. But that's not obvious. Unconventional. Some way that is still completely expressive of who I am, but doesn't take up a frame. I get to involve myself with it and create and recreate. That's what I love about my deck. So, I do want to go ahead and just leave that there for y'all. I also want to give you a random draw. Finding Your Own North Star, Claiming the Life You Were Meant to Live. This is by Martha Beck, author of Expecting Adam, a true story of birth, rebirth, and everyday magic. Sorry, just had a moment. Yeah, exactly that. Sorry, the glare was kind of intense right there for a second. Yeah. I'm going to do another one because I opened to a test page. It's page 129. Oh, can you see that? Yeah. It says how Holly got her bod back, finding your own North Star. That's meaningful because when you're trying to test yourself and have these limits on your own judgment of yourself and what you think you should be because society told you that that's the image you should project. You've really already limited yourself and your thinking to the point where any kind of focus that you might have for the future is interrupted, like a sentence. Just a little comma, like an interruption, a little semicolon, you know? I'm gonna do it again. Let me not even look. We'll just do this. Okay. I went to 69, not page 69, but number 269. First thing, top of the page, it says negative shocks. Yeah. Negative shock. Your beloved auntie Dorcas, who raised you from a baby, is killed in a rogue circus by a rogue circus elephant. I wish you guys could see my table because there's an elephant on it right here. I can't really, I mean, I guess I could try to just give me a little peekaboo. I don't really know what this is. Yeah, you see that? It's like a big old. Did you see my furry rug back there too? It's like a woolly mammoth or something like that. Okay. Anyway, that was just crazy. Positive shock. Stop. Let me stop and go back to the beginning, okay? Please, just let me do that. Negative shock. Because they do start, technically, when you're trying to say everything is positive, everything is good, blah, 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 you're optimizing, which is great. That's great energy. But like we were just talking about, there's an inverse nature to the universe. So the yin and the yang, there's positive and negative. There's also a neutral energy, which is the line between the two, or the differentiation, which is divination between the two. So it doesn't really matter which one you start with. And sometimes the lessons that were harder end up being the ones that you need to live in order to figure out what kind of wallpaper you want. Okay? You just got to learn by living it. Sometimes negativity comes first. Negative shock. Your beloved auntie Dorcas, who raised you from a baby, is killed by a rogue circus elephant. Positive shock. Though Dorcas lived like a pauper, she had $11 million stuffed in her mattress and she left it all to you. Your reaction to both these shocks, good and bad, is likely to be I don't believe this. You will also think, I don't deserve this. Whether the shock is positive or negative, and you'll be right. You really won't deserve it. Shock events have nothing to do with deserving. They just happen. And may I just comment? This is me talking here. Okay? Like, there's a semicolon right there. Just deserving, semicolon. They just happen, whether you earn them or not. Shock events have nothing to do with deserving, semicolon. They just happen, comma, whether you earn them or not. So that return of energy is the semicolon. In Spanish, when you're asking a question or writing a question in a book, there is a question mark up, right side up and upside down. Right side up at the beginning, upside down at the end of the actual question. In Thailand, they have a word, mai, that you put at the end of a question word. Mai ao, I don't know. So if you're asking a question, you can say, like, what's your name? And at the end, as long as you say, like, my ka or my krap, you're asking a question, no matter what was said before. Isn't that cool? Stuff like that. So, long story short, it's not really the order. You can get to the same conclusion in many different ways. So you can make 4 by adding 3 plus 1, and you can also make 4 by adding 2 plus 2. There's a difference. Is it a significant difference? Can't really say that there is. It's kind of like from the beginning of your life to the ending of your life, the sum of it all being the ending of your life. So I don't know if you guys have read David Eagleman. I'm going to continue to pitch it because I love that book. Like, I think I read that all in one day, and it was one of those situations where I could not put it down. It literally changed my brain was like, it was awesome. It was amazing. I'm going to back up, actually, a paragraph, just because it caught my eye. So on page 268, different flavors of death. Since we saw that Wicked card, which is the death card, or Scorpio. So at the beginnings of square one, the departure from your old life will feel slightly different depending on whether the catalytic event that shoved you out of your old identity was a shock, an opportunity, or a transition. So that's what we're talking about, is an opportunity, like your goals. This is manifestation. You have to transition towards it, and it might shock you a little bit the way that it happens, but this is the way that it happens. This is the law of attraction. So chances are you will encounter all 3 forms of catalytic event at one time or another. I'll describe each one briefly so that you'll have a better idea of what to expect and how to handle it. So that's kind of what I was just trying to say, was what to expect and how to handle it. What you expect to happen may not necessarily happen. There was no lighting this on fire. There was just some dropping of it. Okay? So maybe instead of getting angry, you just drop a situation. Maybe sometimes you burn the situation. You light it on fire and transmute that energy from being inflammatory to being released, let go of, given to higher powers of the yummy smoke smelling gods, you know? So it's like a mixed bag of jelly beans. I forgot what those Hogwarts jelly beans are called, but that would be those. Anyway, that's all I'm going to read out of here. And all I really have for right at this moment on The Secret and Manifestation, I do believe it is also a movie, so you can take a look at it if you would like. Anyway, one more thing. I think it's interesting. This was more of a holistic, philosophical view that we just took, looking at the big picture about how to do this reclamation. I also want to divinate for you science buffs. I'm personally a science buff as well. E equals mc squared from, you know, Einstein. Yep. This is by David Bodanis. So David Eagleman and David Bodanis. We're just going to acknowledge both. Oop. The one that I picked out must not have been the right one because I did not mark it. And I guess this one was the holistic view. No, that's probably like The book is just bent that way. So if I open up to it, I open up to it, but I am going to flip. Okay. Yeah, that was crazy. So I opened to page 250 and 251. This is section 52. I don't know why it's on there. Okay. It usually helps to get a feel for an equation to tweak it by examining its properties at various extreme values. If V is much less than C, for example, if the shuttle is moving slowly, then is almost the same as 1. For V squared divided by C squared will be so slight. It doesn't matter if you go on to take in its square root and an inverse, you'll still get a number extremely close to 1. For the actual space shuttles launched from Florida, maximum V is about 18,000 miles per hour. That's such a small percentage of the speed of light that its mass only expands by much less than 0.1%, even when it is screaming out of the atmosphere at top speed. But if a shuttle or anything else is moving really fast, so that V is close to C and then is close to 0, that means that square root is small also. And when you divide 1 by a small fraction, the result is huge. Watch an object streak past at 99% of the speed of light, and its mass will to you have increased several times. That's really cool. So when thinking about manifestation and the speed of manifestation, when we think about the speed of light, which is the fastest speed that we are able to kind of fathom at this time, I don't think we're able to actually book it ourselves. We can break the sound barrier, but I don't think we've broken the speed of light yet. Time-space continuum has a lot to do with all of the things listed here. I'm just going to read this again. It doesn't matter if you then go on to take its square root and the inverse. You'll still get a number extremely close to 1. I'm going to underline it, and then I'll show it to you guys because it's kind of interesting that I was talking about inverses just now, and the cards reflected that. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, is that there's an automatic like it's almost like hearing the when you're popping popcorn in the other room, but it's mental. Does that make sense? That snap, crackle, pop, it just happens without any effort when you're genuinely in line with who you're supposed to be. There's a temptation to think that it's just some quirk, and that although we might be confused in our measurements, a moving object won't really be more massive in any way that counts. But the magnets around the accelerating ring at CERN really do have to raise their powers this much to keep a proton speeding at that rate on track for otherwise the momentum of its increasing mass will send it into the accelerator's walls. I don't know why I'm kind of tired. This is the night, this evening over here. That's what I was just trying to tell you about the lighting. So sorry if it looks funny. But anyway, yeah, I just don't know. I'm going to read it again because I felt like that was really jerky for some reason. There's a temptation to think that it's just some quirk, and that although we might be confused in our measurements, a moving object won't really be more massive in any way that counts. But the magnets around the accelerating ring at CERN really do have to raise their powers this much to keep a proton speeding at that rate on track, for otherwise the momentum of its increasing mass will send it into the accelerator's walls. At 90% of the speed of light, the power needed to control 2.5 times more mass will have to be pumped in to avoid a skid out of the flight path and a crash. So, if you guys believe in coincidence, if you believe in deja vu, if you believe in a lot of those kind of ethereal run-ins that people can have outside of birth and death and REM state, which are also all those things, that I think that this kind of addresses all of the above. But if a shuttle or anything else is moving really fast, so that V is close to C, so they're basically saying it doesn't matter if V squared over C squared, if you take that speed, the movement, like the difference in the movement would be really slight. It doesn't really matter whether it's a V and a C, whether it's an A and a T, whether it's an I and a S. It doesn't matter what two values you place there. The difference is going to be very small. They didn't have any definition here of what V would equal. I guess if a mass is traveling at the speed of V. There they did. Actually, I was wrong. Then to work out how much it will appear to swell, you multiply the mass m by I divided by the square root of parenthesis I minus b squared divided by c squared, close parenthesis. That was in the prior paragraph, but it doesn't matter if you go on and then take its square root and the inverse. You'll still get a number extremely close to 1. So they're saying within these parameters, whatever you do to the equation, you're still going to get pretty close to the same outcome. So 18,000 miles per hour is only a small percentage of the speed of light, which is needed in order for it to expand that quickly. And then it says it here that if the shuttle or anything else is moving really fast so that V is close to C, then it ends up being closer to 0 under these open parenthesis I minus V squared divided by C squared. So it's the same portion of, without the square root, without the inverse and the square root, basically. You just leave the equation as I divided by the square root. Yeah, if you just strip it completely down. Yeah, that means that the square root is also small. And when you divide 1 by a small fraction, the result is huge. Anyway, I'm dragging. It's been 50 minutes. I'm ready to move out of this energy. It's really cool. It's Ace of Wands. That's what I'm saying. Very fun energy to kind of just think about. Oh, I just hit myself in the chin with this book. This is really funny, actually. Okay, well, I'm so tired. That was a lot of, this is the energy equation, so that makes sense. Yeah, but keeping that playful outlook is always a good thing, even when considering difficult situations and especially during them. Being able to pray through it, play through it, and just persist. Be persistent in your happiness. For his plans for you were for good and not for evil. So, anyway, and that's all for now. Toodles.